Welcome to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson today, joined by Tim, the Freedom Marion O'Connor.
I'm here, brother. How are you?
Oh, doing just fine, chugging along,
Cool.
living
Cool.
that newborn life.
Yeah, that's man, it's fun. I mean, I don't I envy you, um, and I don't envy you. Like I can remember it was a trying time.
Yeah, it's all good. You know, I'm,
Yeah.
I'm getting a solid like 4.5 hours of sleep a night. Like I feel just
That's
lucky. Like
that's
that's
not bad. Look, as you get older, as some of our other viewers will attest, sleep gets harder and harder to come by. Like it I don't sleep well, and I don't know why. I don't it just is a fact.
yeah. But besides all that, we have a handful of things to talk about in the world. I think we have like mostly a bunch of small things that we're gonna string together.
Yeah, no, I've got yeah, that seems to be we're gonna kind of go a little fast paced, I think, right? Like I've got a bunch of things up. Um, want to hit you with one maybe later in the show about shrinkflation. I see you put it in the headline.
I put it in a headline. I was like, all right, let's talk about it.
All
Let's
right. It's beautiful, man. It's
let's figure it
beautiful.
out, and all the ways that I'm sure government is gonna definitely save us from inflation. A thing that they didn't totally cause themselves.
Well, that would be the way to save us from inflation, right? Like, but they, Kevin, what we need is a department of shrinkflation monitoring. You know what I'm saying? Like that would work.
Let's give them a few $1 billion. Let's go
That's yeah. No, let's go. Let's go.
fund it.
Let's protect everyone from greedy corporations. You know, let's do that.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
well. My goodness. That's if that's gonna be the theme from the show. Protect us
Hmm.
from greedy corporations.
We got to talk about too, like state of emergencies being declared in it. You know, all over the country in advance of a solar eclipse.
Yeah. I mean,
Apparently,
yeah. I mean, it's just because like people are gonna freak out a little bit when all the like human sacrifice happens. Like
it's a big yeah. I mean,
get upset. That's all. That's
e- human sacrifice to maximize the leverage of a human sacrifice. It's got to be done during an eclipse. That's
it's the only
that's just
time. I mean,
that's
it's
just
especially
facts. That's
yeah,
just facts, Kevin. You
yeah.
know?
But you wouldn't want to be inefficient about that, right?
No, no,
That's
you got to fully leverage your
do
human
your thing. You know,
sacrifice.
that's what has to happen during this
Hmm.
time. So National Guard, just then make sure everyone doesn't like freak out about that.
Sure,
So
it's,
we'll talk about
we'll talk about it.
this panic. We'll talk about some of the stuff going on in the Israel Palestine conflict.
Yeah,
Maybe like a couple small things going on in New York as well.
yeah.
Um, all right, but we'll get to the show in I don't know like 20 seconds.
All right, let's do it.
Now, as always, folks, if you have topics for us too, we'd love to hear about them, and maybe we'll talk about them on the show.
We would definitely would.
We would. All
Don't
right,
be afraid.
5.
Now, an hour of clarity for exhausted people of our nation mired in toxic partisanship. Left versus right, us versus them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
Welcome to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson today, joined by Tim, the Freedom Marion O'Connor.
I'm here, brother. I am your co-host, your conspiracy theorist, and I mean, we've got stuff. We've got stuff to talk about.
We sure do. We're going to talk about shrinkflation. We're going to talk about the eclipse,
The
the
eclipse.
real story behind what's going on there.
Gotta leverage those human sacrifices, brother. That's the way it's gonna be.
How it is. It's the best time. It's the best
Hmm.
time. You know, like it's just efficiency, Tim.
It is. Yeah. So, anyways, guys, it has been an interesting week in the news world. We've got some upcoming events that are pretty exciting. I've got a couple things that probably are going to surprise Kevin because I was kind of like, he's been awfully busy, so I'm kind of doing a little extra show prep, but I don't want to get him like. I want to surprise him with a couple things. There's some big stuff happening this
You
year,
always
Kevin.
keep me on my toes, man. Like
I
I'm
do.
just like sometimes like what All right, I don't know what you're talking about, but we're gonna learn about it together. I'm learning in the same way that you, the audience, are learning about things.
Yeah,
And
and sometimes I make stuff up. Let's be honest, but I've got like this stuff is pretty real, like real, real as can be. But first, probably I don't know how you feel about this. Like we've avoided the subject a little bit, but I do think that I think because it's controversial and because there's not a clear cut answer when we start talking about the Israel Palestine conflict and what's going on over there,
Mhm.
we've got a couple things that have happened. Like Israel, Kevin, I think Monday attacked the Iranian embassy in Damascus. Did
Oh yeah,
did you hear about that?
I heard something about. I didn't read up on it. Like, I just saw someone mention it. I had no idea. I didn't know like what the details of were. Of that. I just all I saw was someone mentioning. It. I don't even know. I didn't even look in to see if it actually
Well,
happened. But
so that happened. And we could spend a few minutes on that. They hit some high profile targets of the Iranian military. They took out a couple generals. They took them out in Syria. It's a an interesting turn of events.
yeah,
I don't like war. I'm anti-war. I think that war in and of itself, is a beast, right? That we can't
yeah,
control, right? I don't like it. I see where this is going. I'm terrified, right? I'm terrified for this generation of kids who well, we make fun of them for being soft, but that's just normal, right? Like that's just the adults in us saying, "Hey,
well,
kids," but I'm
no,
just
and that's,
afraid of
that's
a
the thing. Going back all the way back to like the times of the Greeks, right? Like every single generation has complained about how the current generation is soft. That's always
they're going to be handed a I don't know, a world at war maybe. I don't know, like I'm terrified. Like I see increasing conflict going on and
right.
I'm just terrified's not the right word. I'm angry, right? I think that there's other solutions to these situations that we're not getting involved in. I'm tired of the hostility, of animus, of oppression. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the worldwide response that COVID is increasing poverty and I'm tired of terrorism. I'm wore out by it, man. It's bad. It's really really bad. So
Okay.
I'm concerned, Kevin, what I see,
No,
and
absolutely.
you know, so all right, so that covers that. I don't know. You want to add any
No,
color
no, no. You
commentary to
just
it?
like throughout a thing, right? Like just throughout. Okay, Israel attacked an Iranian embassy in Damascus, right, in Syria.
Yeah,
So we'll break that down a little bit because you're worried about like these things spinning out. I mean, the fact of the matter is that
absolutely
that those are not new actors in this conflict necessarily, right? Like
correct.
the Iranians have been, giving weapons to Hamas. They've been openly supporting war against Israel. Iran has like, declared Israel an enemy. Like they've been messing around in this region and, poking Israel in the eye for a long time, right? They're also Iranians are also backing like the Houthis and messing with the ships in the Red Sea. Like the Iranians are like they're trying to project power in the region, right?
Mm,
And I know like sometimes like the libertarian and then sometimes leftist conversation around this goes to like how is the U.S. like causing this? Like, no,
mm,
this is the Iranians messing around. They
right.
are trying to play empire, and they're going to get burned with it, right? Like because there are going to be consequences to them messing with Israel. Israel knows this, and in the past, Israel has also said, "Okay, you're going to go try to make a nuclear weapon. We're going to go bomb you." Like that's they bombed other countries in the Middle East because like they thought that they were getting close to making a weapon that could be used against them. So they said, okay, we're gonna go be proactive about this. And so like again, my take on this is always like the U.S. should probably stay out. We're not going to really help by like getting more entangled in this stuff. However, again, like Iran is not an innocent party here either. I don't like seeing it like getting spinning out of control either because these things can suddenly like okay, Iran's involved and Iran's associated with Russia and Russia's involved in Syria and what the heck is China doing and what's the U.S. doing in this situation? Like it's one of those things like on the eve of World War I, systems of alliances can suddenly like click into place and suddenly the conflict gets much bigger. It goes from a regional conflict to a worldwide conflict.
Correct. So, I mean, what is the U.S. doing? We're funding Israel, and we sent them F-35s, the state of the art fighter jets. We're not sending them like old artillery. We're not sending them. We're sending them the absolute best of the lethal aid that we have available. Um, that's probably the right strategy. It's just I don't know, man. So like I said, I think war is a beast. War is a something that is out of like things can spin out of control. Like you said, like a small regional conflict sets the world on fire. And I'm where are there other answers to this? Is it Israel just can only project strength and can only beat Iran? And arguably, in a way, I buy that. But the only way out of this is Israel beating Iran and taking out the Houthis and straightening out this situation with violence. Is that
I mean,
you know? I-
sometimes that is the case, right? Like it's an awful situation where sometimes there are people who are determined to exterminate you, and the only way to defend yourself is with violence, like that.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
so there's times when Israel also does things to um it commits war crimes. Like I'm not gonna try to like sugarcoat this in any way. It commit like awful acts. There's the thing that happened with the aid workers,
yeah,
where like a whole convoy of them was killed, and it looks like it was like Israel confirmed that it was like their attack. They're trying to figure out why that happened, but like yeah, it's a terrible thing, and there's a lot, way too much of that goes on, and it's interesting because there's like a political movement in Israel to like become less constrained in the conflict, because there's some people who are like, why are you sending my sons and our daughters into this war zone to try to pick off people one by one? Just glass it, just like eliminate that place, and that's a nasty, ugly impulse that is needs to be like kept in check. Like it's how you lose your humanity.
it is how you lose your humanity, and I do think that the Israel-Palestine conflict, let's call it the Israel-Hamas conflict because that's what it's supposed to be. Um, there is a risk of losing our humanity here. And I'm going to refer to an Al Jazeera article for our listeners on WSL and for the people in the audience tonight. Israel has confirmed its forces killed 7 people from the World Central Kitchen charity in Gaza as they traveled in a convoy emblazoned with the charity's logo that had coordinated its movements with the Israeli military.
Yeah.
It's an absolute tragedy. I think that what it says to me is that they're I'm concerned about the limits and the moral tether on Israel as it's handling the situation in Palestine.
Yeah.
The
I mean,
situation
there's
in
awful
Gaza.
situations. It, like that sort of stuff like needs to stop. And again, if the U.S. can do any good here, hopefully it's to say like, hey, for real, we will like stop supporting you in this if you don't like get it together and like act with some restraint in this situation. Um, if we could actually use our global hegemony and resources for good, I guess that's you know, uh, I guess it's better than using it for evil.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, which it unfortunately happens quite a bit too. And again, it's the Hamas side is bad because you always see this stuff coming out, like like with the Al Shifa hospital stuff too. Like, okay, so um, the Hamas government there was like, oh, Israel attacked this hospital again, right? They just like a wanton attack where they slaughtered people, men, women, and children, etc. Then it kind of died down for a bit. The story died down, and then what ended up happening is like, oh, actually, Hamas fighters were using the hospital to like retreat to and to fire rockets from, and basically use it as a way to like regroup and relaunch attacks on Israeli soldiers, which you are not allowed to do. You
Yeah.
can't do.
And look, we have a question in the audience that I want to field, and I hope you want to field it too. It's an awkward question, right? But so they're agreeing that this was a tragedy, but the dark closet of the mind from YouTube wants to know: is it acceptable to kill 30 innocent people to get one Hamas fighter? And I mean, that's the real question. That's a really, I mean,
Yeah.
at its heart, that's the question that needs to be asked. At what point do we say, I, I
Yeah.
want to say
And,
no, right? Like I
yeah,
want
I
to say
mean,
no.
like you and I in normal situations say no, and like, but what ends up happening like practically on the field is like, okay, the Hamas militants will surround themselves with innocent bystanders, like by for example, launching attacks from a hospital, and then Israel says like, well, we really need to stop these people from killing us, and then they make the calculus that that is worth doing, and then they do it. And then they say, "Oh, look at all these innocent people Israel killed," and that is accurate. Like they did kill innocent people.
They did.
And like, okay, that's but they made that calculus say, okay, like the only way we're going to stop these bad people from hurting us is by killing innocent people, and that's
That's
an ugly calculus to make.
Yeah, that's a weird moral calculus. And it's a strange moral equivocation that I don't know
And
long term, Kevin, the implications.
no,
And there's the question, right?
Facebook uses how many will become Hamas fighters because they instantly killed, and that's like it's explicitly part of the Hamas's strategy to do this. They say like everyone who dies is a martyr, right? Like that's how they treat it, and then they use that to recruit. But again, they put their civilians in situations where they're more likely to die, and then they use that as propaganda to recruit more fighters. Um,
Right.
so like that's a pretty awful thing to do too. Like
It
they
is.
should not be doing that.
No, it should. There's. I feel like there's got to be another way around it. I feel like the Palestinians. This is a real thing, right? Like the Palestinians have been held as a sword at Israel's throat. There's many problems, including you know Benjamin Netanyahu and the Likud party funding Hamas to get them in power because that would minimize the chances of a two-state solution. Now, the, it there's a real problem here, and I want it fixed. I want a solution, and I want it soon. Right? Like as an American, I'm saying how do we impose our hegemony to fix this situation, right? Like playing both sides of the fence. That's what we always do.
Well, I mean, well that is kind of what the American strategy is. Okay, we're providing aid to Israel, or
Mhm.
like military aid to Israel, and
Lethal aid
yeah,
and food aid, right?
and food aid to the Palestinians, right? That like the
Sure.
U.S. government, like even though like it got spun in a really weird way, but the U.S. government like built basically a new sea dock in Gaza to be able to get aid, which is I think it might have been part of that aid package that was related to the attack on the aid convoy as well.
I
But
believe I believe it was. Yes. It's like,
yeah,
okay,
so
great.
like they built it. So it did get it spun into a weird thing, and this is like the weird like lefty Twitter where like everything is an offense and everything is like America participating in genocide with Israel and stuff. Where they're like, oh, look at the American government giving MREs to like these like poor Palestinians like garbage food, and it's like no, MREs are actually like they're practical food. It's not like gourmet, but it's calorie dense. Again, MRE meal ready to eat. Like you're this is what we feed to the American military out in the field. Like it's good quality stuff, and people are like, oh, like they're feeding them garbage. You can't eat this, and like, oh, what?
It's calorie dense and it's critical food at a time when food is scarce right now. The UN is offering reports that nutrition is at an all-time a problem with nutrition exists in Gaza is at an all-time high. Like it's
People starve.
real.
That's what it
Right.
is. Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't.
I've had MREs. Like they're fun. They're delicious in a way. Like not like would I want to live off of them forever? No. I'm blessed to live in America, man. I can get what food I want. You know.
Yeah,
Um.
I know we used to take them like sometimes we for one of our Boy Scout hikes that was like a couple day hike like through the woods at a couple stops. We used MREs for some of those just because we wanted like
Yeah.
nice calorie dense meals, and it's good for that. And they got
That
the
that
things you pour the water in them. They heat them up, everything too.
Yeah, that was where I got mine. Was at a Boy Scouts birthday party, and he's like, you know what? I want everybody. The food we're gonna have is MREs, and I had taken my kids, and they're like, so I had a couple of MREs. Like what? I'll tell you what. I think I had two though. Like my kids didn't really like it, so I ate like mine and theirs because there was not a ton of food there. Facebook user, it's got to be Thomas Daniel Queter. We don't even feed our homeless as good as MREs. Like they are nutrient dense, they are calorie dense. It's okay, right? Like they're okay. It's something, and they're compact, and that
Yeah, and that was like a
transports well.
temporary thing. That too, like that was also to get aid in immediately. There's like I forget what the acronym for it, but there's another type of food that's like a basic food ration type of thing. That they started sending in afterwards. That's a little bit like lower cost. But they have like diet appropriate, like even like halal appropriate, like basic food stuff that they send in bulk to try to get people to be able to survive, to prevent people from starving.
Yeah, and look, no matter what, at the end of the day, Dark Closet of the Mind brings up another point that I like to talk about when it comes to funding military engagements. It will only end when it stops being profitable. And there is a morality, there is a justice, but there is a reality that war makes lots and lots of people lots and lots of money, from campaign coffers getting filled to the military industrial complex generating revenue. Like
I mean,
it's absolutely real.
I don't know. I think that's like a little bit too simplistic. Like, there's a lot of wars that went on for
Yeah,
ideological reasons, like well beyond anyone making any money off of it, right? Like, it was like a war for survival, a war for extermination, war
sure.
for ridiculous ideologies because they thought they could be profitable at the end. Like the Civil War was like that. They thought that they would be profitable if they could keep their economic system intact after the Civil War, but like it wasn't. It was absolutely devastating to every single aspect of the South. Like no
Right.
one was making money off of that. I mean, like a couple people were, but like
Uh,
not,
to-
not the political leadership who was making the decisions. It was ideological, and like don't discount the role of ideology in allowing people to make stupid decisions that would kill millions of people.
All right. So look, your comments fair. I think that my thoughts are fair as well. And I think in
Yeah,
this modern day and age, um, a lot of times these decisions look really, really look like they're incentivized, like through money. Like when politicians are bragging about how the military industrial complex makes great jobs all over the country, and so that's how we grow GDP or something. Like it's offensive to me, Kevin. You know what I mean? Like
like,
we've talked about it
Mitch
before.
McConnell like making his pitch for Ukraine aid. Like, well, it creates jobs. Okay,
Yeah, it's
just
gross,
because it
man.
creates jobs does not mean it's good.
Right.
Um,
It's a gross angle to take. I don't like it. Um, you
yeah,
appeal to my sense of morality, appeal to my sense of justice. I get closer to agreeing. But when you get to it makes good jobs. It's like
yeah.
that's
It's
what
like
I was afraid of.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's what I was afraid of.
You
It
want to
makes
create
good
new
votes
jobs,
for me.
repeal some regulations. Like
Right.
up to it. Like,
Yeah. Let
so
people do business. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. Like,
one more
that's where
quick
we're
comment.
really at.
One more quick comment before we go to break. Facebook user says, "Send me an F-35." I think they're
$100 million.
but yeah, listen, you got to get a permit for that, right?
Yeah.
You get your 15 license. Like, I'm sure the government will allow you to purchase one for bucks.
Yeah. It's about a
Just
hundred million.
missions.
Yeah, about 100 million.
All right. Well, on that note, folks, we are going to head to break. Thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Talk to you soon.
So
All right.
this is oop. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's all right.
Apparently, I'm not sounding very loud, y'all. I don't know. Like, I cranked up my gain. Like in my ears, I sound super loud,
All right.
distractingly loud. But I'll
I
try.
did nothing to mine out of the ordinary, so maybe it's me. I don't know because I am like a bot at this stuff.
Okay. Oh, is that louder, folks?
Oh my god. Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
louder
way
for
louder.
sure.
What was I on before? It's like I I don't know.
I don't
Maybe
know.
I was on the this mic or something.
See, that's what I thought. I tried to warn you. You don't listen to me.
You
But
you did say so.
yeah.
But, like I was looking at it, is the right mic in the settings? I don't know.
So you're almost as bad as me. You actually are nowhere near as bad as me, but you definitely sound better now.
All right, well that's good. I mean, I can see the little green thing going up a bit. Like it's only going up like a little bit before. Now it's going way up.
Yeah.
But it said I switched it to the same mic.
All right. Cool.
But,
that's good.
But I'm glad it's better, guys. The comments we're getting like
that's
Kevin,
good
you're
stuff.
not loud enough.
All right. Well, there you go. We fixed it. Saving the show. Kevin,
No.
I was attacked by a porn bot on Twitter, and literally I've never been so hot in my life. You know how a lot of them say like send nudes and like check my profile for whatever. This one said, and the Fed. And I was like, oh my God, that's awesome.
There we go. All right, like that should be allowed. Like Elon allowed that. Like the other stuff, the link in bio stuff. Like, all right, like calm down. We can cut down on that.
We could cut down on that for sure. Like, but if they're gonna all come at me with end of Fed, I mean, I'm gonna start clicking links. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just gonna do it. I'll be like, whatever. Here's my credit card, honey. You see what I mean?
Oh, okay. This is. I was expecting a video, but it's just a PDF of like the was it Ron Paul's and the Fed and the creature from Jekyll Island. Yeah, it's just those books. What's that?
It'd be perfect. I'll buy it. What the heck? Send me more of that. Now, someone charges $150 an hour for marriage counseling. Honestly, like you got to consider whether that's wise money to spend. You know what I mean? Like having been married and divorced, it's like, I don't know. Like, is it cash? Like, it seems too much. Seems like you could negotiate a better price.
Whatever you want to do, Tim. Like it's your money. You negotiate.
That's right. All right. Yeah. So we got that straightened out. We could do. We got the Israel thing. Like we could probably talk about that every show. I hate war so much, and we could argue over it. Like it's just.
Yeah.
It's awkward, man. It's really, really awkward.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not great. And again, we say this every time. It's like there are, and we're not on the radio part. There's shitty people on both sides of this. Like Hamas is not great. And I see some people like, oh, like here's what Israel doing, and Hamas. Those poor Palestinian people. It's like, no, they're pretty bad too. Like it's really not great. What they're doing, but also it's not great. I mean, like, oh, you're an apologist for Israel and the apartheid. No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, but both of these governments kind of suck, and I am really upset about the innocent people caught in between, and I don't like that. I don't know what to do with that.
Look, I can't say it often enough, and it's not talked about often enough that the Israeli citizens that do not have a right to defend themselves with weaponry were steamrolled by a surprise attack that was unexpected. So gun control, guys, gun control. Israel is incredibly proud of its gun control. Okay. It's rules about who can have guns and who can't have guns. And the general rule is most people can't have guns. That contributed to October 7th. And I'm tired of people not talking about it. But I don't know how to change that. You know what I mean? It's very upsetting to me. Like this terrorist attack was facilitated by Israeli gun control. So sorry, like that's real. They did open Facebook user. They did open the armories slightly after October 7th, but they still are, whatever. It gives me a headache. It's like Glenn Beck moment where I should wrap my head before it explodes with duct tape. Like that was something he used to do all the time back in the day.
Good. That's a good theatrical move. Glenn Beck, if nothing else, has a good sense for dramatic.
He does. Oh my God. If nothing else. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But All right. Well, we should get back to the show. We'll get back in like 15 seconds, and let's talk about like some of the shrinkflation stuff.
All
See
right,
that.
let's do it. Yeah, so let's do it.
We'll jump into that stuff in about 5. Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson today, joined by Tim, the Freedom Variant O'Connor.
I'm here, Kevin. And I'm telling you, it's just a wild time. Like I kind of dumped one on you right ahead of the show, and I wasn't sure if you were familiar with it or not. But let's put it out there. Our benevolent overlords are going to, Kevin. They wrote an Inflation Reduction Act. They are now going to write a Shrinkflation Reduction Act. They've got our best interests at heart.
I can't believe this is a real thing. I haven't read about this, like, because
All right,
I've been trying to stay off Twitter and focusing on like being a good father and taking care of my child, and like I felt a lot of joy from that. Thanks for dragging me back down into the mud, Tim.
Look, man, I'm telling you right now, Bob Casey. Look, I wanted to kind of play with you about it. I wanted to kind of like drag it out, but there's a certain amount of malicious incompetence that is very real. That Bob Casey from he's a Democrat senator, apparently, has introduced the Shrinkflation Prevention Act of 2024. His opening comments: over the past few years, greedflation has fueled rising costs facing American families. Greedflation occurs when corporations use inflation as a cover for price increases, inflating their own profits in the process. In fact, Federal Reserve data indicates that from 2020 to 2022, corporate profits rose by 75%, 5 times as fast as inflation. Like, this guy is playing fast and loose with the numbers, and he's lost his freaking mind. But anyways, shrinkflation, one tactic to hike prices and increase profit, occurs when corporations reduce product size without lowering the price in a commensurate way. So look, shrinkflation is real. That's something that's really happening.
Yeah, it's a real thing, right? Like we'll acknowledge that. Like some products get smaller because it gets more expensive for them to produce that product. So instead of raising prices, they just take off a couple ounces of a drink or a few ounces away from the box or something, right?
Yeah, I discovered OxyClean late last year, and since I discovered it, it's gone up about $3 in price and lost about 5 ounces in the package. Like, I'm just like, man. Anyway, so Bob Casey again goes further. Of course, like they don't just stop. Shrinkflation is squeezing families' budgets across the nation, and so look, guys, on his introduction of the Shrinkflation Prevention Act, he has Gatorade shrinking its drink volume from 32 to 28 ounces, and Cocoa Puffs from 19.3 ounces to 18.1 ounces. Now, I want to be honest, neither one of those products has any appeal to me. But
The Gatorade?
No, I don't like Gatorade. It gives me heartburn.
Oh man, that's a good Gatorade too. The Frost. But here, listen, you want to beat the inflation on Gatorade? Buy the powder. It's so cheap. Like that's what I do. Like I buy the powder. It's like $8 for like 30 gallons of it. Like,
so what? This is like smoke and mirrors.
Okay. To that point, there's a comment on YouTube. Dark Clouds of Mine says the market will correct for that. We can vote with our dollar. If we don't, then they'll need to adjust. Yeah, that's it. That's all you do, which is what I did too. Like, because I'm like, man, it's way too much for like this little bottle of Gatorade. I'm not gonna buy like a 6-pack of this. Oh, here's powder. I'm still buying the Gatorade, but like it's cheaper, right? Like, or I'll switch to another product. Whatever.
You shouldn't, Kevin. You shouldn't be forced to switch from your favorite product. What you need is a benevolent, a law. And guys, how could they enforce this law? What I think, billions of dollars in a new agency, which in fact will continue to contribute to devaluation of the dollar, which guys may in fact be the source of inflation that we've been facing for these years, right? Like
it may very well be. So two things. One, I want to say the specific solutions that he lays out. The senator lays out. So he says, direct the FTC to promulgate regulations to establish shrinkflation as an unfair or deceptive act or practice prohibiting manufacturers from engaging in shrinkflation. Authorize FTC to pursue civil actions against corporations who engage in shrinkflation. Authorize state attorneys general to bring civil actions against corporations engaging in shrinkflation. So
he doesn't even really have to pass a law. He just passes the buck to a regulatory agency. And
FTC, you've been going nuts anyway. Like,
here you go.
Get them.
Yeah, go get them.
But here's there's a lot of problems with this, but one of them is that it doesn't actually address the core issue, as you pointed out. Inflation has a lot of sources, and a lot of it is the government. This doesn't actually address this. It's not going to solve the inflation issue, because shrinkflation is a reaction to like rising prices that corporations are seeing too, right? So they're just trying to maintain their profitability. Again, I see nothing that is neutral to me. It's neither good nor bad that corporations are trying to make money. That's what they do. They're trying to make a living.
Right.
And the thing is, though, like the way this is set up, no company could end up shrinking the sizes of their products, right? Like, I mean, it's just like, imagine if like you couldn't shrink the size of like your 64-ounce like colas that you're serving in stores that like places like New York City went after, because like that would be shrinkflation. Oh yeah, like sorry, we're gonna discontinue the 64-ounce, and we're gonna only have 32 ounces, but now the 32 ounces are the same price. Like, oh, shrinkflation.
Kevin, it sounds to me like you don't trust our better angels in government, like that they simply don't have our best interests at heart. When in fact, with laws like this, they are demonstrating that they do.
Yeah. That's that they certainly do. I mean, again, we're gonna have laws contradicting each other here, right? Like, do you want to shrink the products or grow the products? I don't know. Like, we got someone talking about like profitable diabetes epidemic. Okay, well, like, you know how you can prevent that? You shrink the sodas.
That's
right?
it.
Like, the less diabetes. Shrinkflation is going to cure obesity. Like, thank you, corporations.
I mean, inflation will, as Venezuela noted,
Yeah.
inflation
dark
will,
joke.
it will cure obesity on some level. Absolutely.
No, but the other, like, the fundamental like misunderstanding about like shrinkflation, right, is that like the senator from Pennsylvania calling it like greedflation, like, oh, like as if corporations only like either raise prices, which is the other thing they're accusing them of like raising prices of goods, or shrinking prices or shrinking goods while keeping the price the same to pursue greed. But what happens when prices are going down? Because a lot of goods like either fluctuate in price, or sometimes they just like they go down over time because there's more competition. It's cheaper to source the materials, and like they're able to sell more at volume by lowering prices. Like, what happens when that did corporations suddenly get less greedy when the prices of TVs went down? No, they didn't. They're still the same exact level of greedy. It's just that they can't get away with selling TVs at a higher price because there's more competition in the market to sell this stuff. And now I can buy like a 55-inch TV for like $300 if I want to.
Competition is overrated, Kevin. Like us libertarians talk about competition like it's the be all end all, solve all the problems. Without better angels in government, this is going to be impossible. That's it.
So we got
at it.
These folks who are doing that. There's actually another one I heard about today related to shrinkflation, but is so there's this old 1930s like law that basically makes it so that like manufacturers of food are supposed to sell food to at the same price to like all of their buyers, right? So like grocery stores aren't able to really negotiate for better prices. It's called the Robinson-Patman Act, right?
Okay.
And so this law is passed in the 1930s, basically to go after like A&P. Which was a huge grocery chain at the time. And now the FTC, Linda Khan, Sue Happy her. Friends over there, they want to like start to revive this act too, to protect small grocery stores, and say, because small grocery stores aren't able to negotiate as good of a price would say, like the Gatorades and the Cocoa Puffs and all that stuff. So they have to price things a bit higher than say Walmart. And so now they want to like make things equal. Now, you might ask yourself, like, again, that stinks for those grocery stores, but you might ask yourself, well, what happens if bigger grocery chains can't negotiate prices on like bulk purchases of goods anymore? Well, the place where most of us buy our stuff, their food's going to get more expensive. That's what's going to happen. Again, it's you come out with this thing to say, oh, we want to help these like smaller businesses. And what you end up with is most Americans paying more for food, right?
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. And then, as the average weight of the American citizen goes down, they will thank themselves for taking the bull by the horns and solving the obesity epidemic.
Yeah.
Like,
Thank
like,
you, government. Now
sure,
that
it
I
was.
can't afford food, I don't need to pay for that expensive Ozempic anymore. I
Yeah.
can just, just have the discipline to not buy food anymore
That's
because I can't afford it.
beautiful. Yeah, no, that's beautiful, man.
And
Like, that is beautiful.
And hey, listen, I don't want to. The Republicans are also trying to solve the obesity problem with tariffs, because Donald Trump, he wants to impose a 10% tariff on everything, like just across the board 10% tariff. Let's just like it is a 10% tax on everything. So all the stuff, your goods and services, your goods that you buy from overseas, your electronics, your machines, in some food as well. 10% tariff on all of that. What do you think that's going to do to inflation, Tim? Like what's going to happen there?
We're all going to end up with being able to buy less stuff. The value of our dollar is going to get destroyed. The thing about tariffs, like I had a conversation with a guy, like what does the government do with the money that they get from tariffs? What do they do with that money? It doesn't net out to a positive. We go further and further in debt every single year. Just let us trade with other people. Just let us do our thing, and everything is going to be better. I do have a solution coming up, Kevin, in the next part of the show to this whole food's getting more expensive. 2024 is going to be a big year. It's going to be a cataclysmic event. People are going to have all over the Southeast are going to have free food everywhere.
Oh, well, okay. Well,
everywhere, man.
I look forward to that next time. We got a couple more minutes in this one, and I want to bring up, I think this Queeter again on Facebook says your medications are also going to get more expensive.
Yeah,
and he says Medicare is set to spend 22% more this year. I mean, there's again same with like it's price controls on pharmaceuticals are actually kind of causing some of this too. It ends up being a thing where like importing stuff is more expensive and regulations are getting expensive on this stuff, and then price controls end up limiting like the effect of like research and development to have new and less expensive medications come out. Now it's one of those things where it's well intentionally, we don't want this new stuff to come out and people not to be able to afford it, and then like people aren't able to survive or have as good of quality of life because new medications come out, right? But what ends up happening, right, the pharmaceutical industry puts money into making something. They charge a high price for it. They make their money back over 10 years, and then eventually the patent expires on this stuff and the generics come out, and then it becomes cheap.
Sure.
But people only see the first part to say, oh, it's so expensive the first few years, right? Well, okay. What would you rather have? Expensive medication, new medication coming out all the time, but it's expensive for a few years, and then it's cheap later on, or that medication not existing at all?
Well, what I would prefer, Kevin, is one of the areas where it drives me a little bit crazy is that because we don't have a free flow of medicine across borders, they are selling the exact same drugs in Mexico or France or Spain at a much lower price than what they sell them to the American citizen for. And so, again, these tariffs and these regulations and these import restrictions hurt American consumers. The price would equalize over the entire world. But what we have now is a drastic price controlled market for the American citizen, and other countries are benefiting from how much we pay because of this lack of free trade when it comes to medicine. So I understand the patent protection, that's fine, but let's equalize it throughout the world, right? With this new, like, I don't know. A lot of libertarians get crazy over intellectual property. I'm not one of them. So
we could have a whole other debate. We got like 30 seconds left. Maybe we'll
let's do it.
do a little mini debate on that. But like, because we do have to head to break. Thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. We're going to be back in just a few minutes. Talk to you soon. Yeah. And I know I sort of like jump topics slightly. I know you're referring to tariffs on imports. I was like, hey, I had this other thing I wanted to talk about, but I didn't want to turn it to a whole segment.
No, that's how it works, man. That's how we got to do. We got to flow,
goes,
bro. We got to flow.
So it is. But like intellectual property, here's my whole thing on it. I am fine with like the original constitutional conception of intellectual property, right? As in like it is there for like a few years, like a decade. Right? I can't remember what the original constitutional provision
I think it was 7 years. That's what if I remember correctly.
Just like a few years. I mean, especially on like creative works, right? But like
Mickey Mouse, for example.
Yeah. Not 100 years, and like some of that stuff is just totally ridiculous. Like so yeah, like and I know like I'm not an anarchist. I haven't really claimed to be too. Like so yeah, I'm fine with like creating these monopolies on this stuff. It's it creates the incentive for people to create stuff and have ownership of it long enough to be able to profit, right? And taking that incentive away, are you like an intellectual property purist? Or are you kind of like fine with some limited version of it?
Me?
Yeah,
I'm absolutely fine with some limited version of intellectual property. I think if someone designs something and they could kind of control access to it, they deserve some sort of, I would say, bonus profit for their effort and their genius. Like, I don't know how we would incentivize genius and creativity without it. That guess would be my big point, right? Like, I know licensing, you can make bank off of licensing and stuff like that, but still, it is unfortunate though that it's become totally in the realm of big business players, right? Like, you're not gonna get a garage DNA modifying mRNA. Like, my medicine had to come from Merck, right? Like,
I mean, like some people are doing that. Like, some people really are. They're kind of messing with stuff in the garage. And sometimes that's how stuff gets invented. It's small labs and people messing around in the garage. I mean, not all of it, but then you have like patent trolls who are just going and like trying to patent everything and like patenting like small little weird things for decades at a time that make it harder for other innovation to happen. That's what like, so I'm in favor of like IP reform on that type of stuff, where instead of it becoming an incentive to be able to create and then profit from your ideas, it becomes an inhibition because like everyone's trying to get other people on like, well, I have a patent on like this specific component and didn't give you permission to use it, and
sues you for millions of dollars and tries to take all your money. Yeah, no, I get it. Certainly it is a conundrum. Certainly it is a libertarian conundrum. So I think it's a libertarian conundrum. I don't know. Anyway, let's see. Dark closet of the mind. Tariff revenue is used for national defense, Medicare, and interest on our debt. I don't know that is it legislated specifically for those things?
It's for like, I mean, it's just
it just goes in the general tax revenue.
Yeah,
I guess.
I mean, like unless like there's a tariff that's specific to like fund a program, which sometimes happens, but it's just whatever the government wants to spend it on, and then
exactly
they have to collect $100 worth of tariff revenue and then spend $1,000, and that's how it goes.
That's how it goes, man. That's it. Like, I don't know. Then what? Arguably, they've disconnected themselves from any semblance of our debt is tied to our income. Like, I don't know how we got here.
It's getting further and further afield of that. Like, which you gotta go back to like basically the Clinton days to have anything like that.
I talk about this regularly. I think they saw a minor shrink in GDP, but that's where they divorce themselves from the concept of wealth building, right? Like that the middle class can build wealth, and that's a good thing. When they balanced that budget and they saw a recession, they're like, oh my God, we can't ever do this again. You know what I mean? And it's been, they took the brakes off then, and it's just been accelerating ever since. There's been disasters after disaster that allowed them to just unfetter, print fiat, spread it out, and make the income gap bigger through bad monetary policy. Although arguably they wouldn't necessarily say it's bad. They're saying it's good. we
Yeah.
did the right thing. You
They're
know,
fixing it. No
we fixed
recession. The
it.
economy's great. That's
Yeah, well, it's good, man.
yeah.
The GDP grew. See, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, there's some shoddy metrics that they use. Like, as far as I'm concerned, government spending is a shoddy metric to be included in GDP without caveats. Let's say, like, I get that it could be there, but it needs more regulation, if you will.
Yeah. Let me get to this real quick. 20 on wheelchair. Quid, I assume you're talking about like 20% tariff on wheelchairs? Because if so, that's just downright criminal.
It's
I
insane.
believe it. Because they probably do that for like a lot of medical equipment, but like, yeah, absolutely ridiculous.
He's advancing his knowledge about the wheelchair industry at a rapid rate, and he's sharing everything that he learns about it. So I think that first of all, it's very enjoyable to have him on as a guest, but I think we should explore that with him again down the road. Like, he's getting better and better at this as he gets more and more invested. Plus he's developing some interesting prototypes that I'd like.
Yeah.
Years of IP, intellectual
Yeah.
property. So if he gets a patent for his latest
There you go.
that'd be
You
kind
get
of
that government monopoly,
Be
Tom.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
In that case, I'd support it.
So, all right, but we should get back to the show.
We got to get back to the
eventually.
show, man.
And talk about all the other weird news going on. We'll talk about.
Oh my God, it's it's going to be a great segment of weird news, dude.
Yeah, we got to talk about the eclipse.
We do.
But all right, so we'll go back in 10. Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilshire today, joined by Tim, the Freedom Variant O'Connor.
I'm here, Kevin. And look, like I said before, the break, we'll deal with that one later. Let's talk about the fact that governments all over the country are declaring states of emergency because of a solar eclipse. Or is it a lunar eclipse? I don't even know.
The solar eclipse.
Is it a solar? Okay.
The moon is going to go over the sun and
All
block
right.
out the sun.
The moon's going over the sun. The moon is not going to travel 93 million miles. What are you talking about?
So relative to their positions in the sky, it's about the same size. Gonna block it out. It's going to make it dark.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's going to be Earth, Moon, Sun, which only happens, I guess, never or every 2,000 years or 30,000 years or something.
Well, it's not quite that rare. But the next one in the Rochester region is going to be like 2144. So it's going to be a bit.
Yeah, I might miss that one. I'm going to be kind of in the path of this one. I've been driving on like I-88 and I had a trip down the thruway. I just want to thank Governor Kathy Hochul for the messages on the signs saying, please drive careful on April 8th, solar eclipse. What do you think?
I mean, of all the things to do with government resources, like a sign saying drive careful is fine. Like, I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, no, I actually like, okay. Because look,
quick side note on that.
Yeah,
Pete Buttigieg wants to ban like clever signs like that. Like on St. Patrick's Day, they had "Don't push your luck, drive sober." Right, like that. Those are the signs in my area. Which like
wild,
fine. Yeah, like okay,
controversial.
Yeah, like, I do not care about that. Like okay, yeah, like driving sober. Yeah, we should do that. I guess that's fine to put that in a sign. I don't know if it's actually doing much, but like it's fine. People
don't tell me what to do, bro.
Yeah. I mean, I need to find it. There's like a New York State agency too. I'll bring it back to the eclipse where they're talking about don't wear your eclipse glasses while driving. And
oh my God. All right. Okay.
Even like my initial response is like, don't tell me what to do, government. Like I'll do what I want. If I want to wear super dark sunglasses while driving, like I'm gonna do it.
Honestly, I'm gonna wear 2 pairs just to prove them,
just to spite them,
just to show them they can't tell me what to do. So look, arguably there is a solar eclipse. It looks very exciting. You and I have made some jokes about human sacrifices and how to leverage that out during a solar eclipse.
There's so much area to cover. You got lots of human sacrificing space.
Right. Perhaps they should put that on the sign that that this information is inaccurate. Please do not commit human sacrifices during a solar eclipse. It does
Yes.
nothing.
No, I
No
mean, like,
extra.
I mean, yeah, if you just tell people like, hey, stop, don't do the illegal thing, like
Yeah.
they won't do it. Like, just
No.
ask them nicely. It's all you got to do.
Yeah. Um.
Uh,
So I mean, that's it for the solar eclipse. Unless
well,
you've
what?
got anything else, man.
No, I do. So,
All
because I
right.
know people are like, why are they calling out the National Guard? You know, like, why are people declaring states of emergency? I'll actually like defend this like a little bit, like the Niagara County doing it, like probably maybe not fully necessary, but I get some of the small towns doing it. Like, there's like Tim, you ever been to like a town where the only grocery store for like 50 minutes is like a big M and there's like just nothing else around?
Okay, Kevin, that's every town in Otsego County.
Exactly. Right.
So
So
I
like
mean,
you're familiar, right? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
and so like imagine like there's a bunch of these like small towns that are in the path of the eclipse. And a bunch of people are traveling from all over the country and converging in these like small towns to try to go look at the eclipse. So that's why the governments are issuing statements like go and stock up on food, get your water,
Yeah.
be prepared for traffic, because like this town that is used to, 300 cars a day passing through it is suddenly going to have 5,000 people in it or 10,000 people in it.
Yeah.
And that's going to be kind of a big deal. So I get why they're having a National Guard on standby to be
Yeah.
like, okay, like if
Pe-
there's a big accident or something, like we have extra people on hand to clear it, or if there's a medical event and we can't get people out, like, okay, like what do we do? And
it-
if the
it's a
food
pretty
runs out, yeah, like it's like it's a legitimate issue for places where like there really is nothing for a while around. Like it's not as big of a deal. Even in New York, like most of the time you're not usually more than like an hour and a half from like something. But there are
sure.
other parts, like you go out to like Oklahoma, where it's really a few hour drive to like get to stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
And on that note too, like, look, there is a reality that millions and millions of people, literally numbers that are almost unheard of, are going to be traveling that day to see the eclipse. Like places along the path of the eclipse booked solid. I took my wife to a little like lodge this last weekend. No one's there but us. There's like all the other rooms are open. They're like, but next week, starting on Sunday, we
oh yeah,
are booked. And this place was like, kind of nice and pretty expensive. And they upped their rates. They came up with this package for the solar eclipse. So yes, there is something to be like prepared for.
price
Lots of
gouging.
lots of people in your area if you're close to the
Tim,
actual
we got to
place.
ask, should the government do something about this? Should the government control the prices of hotels and Airbnbs during the eclipse?
Well, to protect like us from inflation and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like
Because they're yeah,
these greedy price gougers think they
yeah,
can get away with charging extra high prices during a once in a lifetime event.
yeah.
How dare they? Those greedy
Oh, they
corporations, the hotels think they can charge $1,000 a night, which is legitimately a thing in Rochester and Buffalo. Um,
wow, that's
yeah,
awesome.
no, is it like the hotel prices are wild out here, but
I
they
would
think they can get away with it. Kathy Hochul ought to do something about this. She ought to
listen.
fix this problem.
Yeah, listen. I paid $100 when I came out and visited you that one time, and I felt ripped off. Like Rochester wasn't. I'm just kidding. I'm joking, man. I'm joking. Rochester was cool. We had a good time. Um,
It's fair. You only made it out to Henrietta. I'm at the next time you're out here. I'm gonna have to like show you around. We'll get you into the city. There's a waterfall in the city. You probably won't get stabbed. It's fine.
all right. Well, you said city, and I'm already like, I don't
Nah,
know.
it's
I don't know.
great.
It's not
But
for me.
and I know like someone's asking, Dark Cause of Mine on YouTube's asking, do you think the eclipse will be a dud event for Rochester or Cash Cow? I mean,
Cash cow.
yeah, people are probably still going to make money. Now, is it going to be cloudy and are we going to see nothing? Like, who knows?
Probably.
Yeah, that's
Probably. But look, the people are coming from all over the world for this thing to be along the path. And New York has a lot of travel hubs. Rochester has, Western New York has lots of places where people can fly into. It's going to be a big event, like as far as people being around for it.
yeah.
Kevin, I've got some good news on the food front, though.
Okay.
I just want people to be prepared. Get some plastic bags. Get ready. This year, 2024, Kevin, the convergence of the 13-year cycle and the 17-year cycle cicadas are coming out huge, man. Quadrillions of them, perhaps. Like, not since Thomas Jefferson was president have we had a cicada event like this.
Listen,
I'm not kidding. It's
all
real,
right,
Kevin. It's real.
okay. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I feel like we've done this every year now for like 5 years.
Well,
Like,
perhaps.
I feel like I might be over the cicada hype because like
Mhm.
we keep doing this. We're like, oh yeah, this is brood X. You know, like, it's the biggest brood. It's the noisiest brood. Like there's gonna be so many cicadas everywhere. And I'm like, okay.
Sure. All
And
right.
like in some places, yeah, I get there's a bunch. You know, I saw like, you know, like I visited my friend down in Maryland, like after they had like one of the big cicada things, and there's just, you know, cicada like husks all over like
Sure.
trees and everything. Like, it's a thing, but like every year, like we want to like hype up the big cicada event. Now, you want to if it is big and there's a whole bunch of them around, and you know, you want to scoop them up and throw them in a deep fryer. I hear they make good tacos. Tim, we can eat the bugs.
We can eat these bugs. Honestly, the article I'm referring to recommends that you at least try them. Um, but Kevin. This is the overlap of Brood 19 and Brood 13. Okay,
Wow.
Brood 19 it comes out every 13 years. Brood 13 comes out every 17 years, and we are like, I mean, I don't want to try to oversell this because literally it's going to be in the Southeast and not affect us at all.
No, we just
But by God, if you're in the Southeast out there, this is going to be the way to supplement your food bill. You can just walk around, scoop these bad boys up, throw them in a bag, put them in your freezer, fill your freezer with cicadas. Like, and maybe you'll have an impact on the noise level that they make because apparently it's going to be like a jet engine in every neighborhood all over the Southeast.
they do make a ruckus. Like if
Yeah,
you've ever
this
like
is
been like where cicadas are really really prominent, they're
this
noisy.
is I mean, according to the scientists, which nobody believes scientists anymore, but according to the scientists that track these things, again, this is 225 years, 200 years, something like that. Thomas Jefferson was alive the last time this particular brood hatch overlapped. It doesn't, I mean, 13 years and 17 years, you can see that mathematically, it would be unlikely for them to overlap with any kind of regularity, intuitively speaking.
Right. Listen, yeah, I'm not a mathematician. I'm sure someone could tell me like how often that is, and there's probably a formula for figuring that out that I definitely forgot about because I'm not
Yeah.
using that kind of math on a regular
Yeah.
basis
Yeah, no,
anymore. But
there's definitely math like involved, which is very confusing for a lot of people. That's for sure.
but
But
also this again, I'm sure this is queer again. I feed them to my chickens and make eggs. It's a great idea, actually.
makes
Like,
sense. Yeah.
scoop them
No.
bunch. Like, I've seen people do that. So on TikTok with some of the other brews, they just like scooped them up and like threw them in their like chest freezer and then just start handing them out to their chickens. You know,
I-
as a treat over the course of a year.
Yeah, well, you honestly, I would try cicadas. I would try them deep fried. I would try them however you want to make them.
It was
As
someone
long as
else
they're
this time.
cooked.
It wasn't queer. Guys, listen, WYSL, I keep referring to these folks like who comment on Facebook, but I can't see what any of their pictures are in their Facebook group. It just says Facebook users. So sometimes I'm just taking a guess.
Yeah, yeah. That's all right. Kevin, leave it blank. Campaign gets 12% of the vote in New York Democratic presidential primary. In New York City, Kevin, about 15% of Democratic primary voters did not vote for any of the three candidates on the ballot.
Yeah.
Joe Biden still won handily. And look, this does not mean that 22% of or 15% of New York City Democrats are all of a sudden going to be voting libertarian, but
No. They're not even going to be voting green. Like
right.
they're
They're going to vote for Biden.
They're going to vote for Biden. Like, I know it's a thing because they're trying to send a message to Joe Biden that like if you don't stop supporting Israel, then we won't vote for you. Most of them are going to vote for Joe Biden.
They are. At the end of
as
the day,
yeah,
those lies and the bifurcation of their brain and the manipulation, the emotional manipulation and the emotional infancy that they're stuck in, they will still fall back and vote for this guy. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying the choice has to be between him and Trump. The choice shouldn't be between just him and Trump.
No. And
Yeah.
it doesn't even just apply to this election, right? Like we've seen it in the past with other elections where like, hey, like we're really frustrated with who might otherwise be our preferred candidate, whether it's Democrat or Republican. In this case, some Democrats are frustrated with Biden. In the past, some Republicans have been frustrated with Trump. But you end up getting so scared of the other person, you end up, they say, well, what if Trump wins? What if Biden wins? Like, well, I can't vote third party because then, the other guy might win. And that happened in New York State gubernatorial elections too. Like a couple times, like, well, I was gonna vote for Larry Sharp, but like, what if Andrew Cuomo wins? I gotta vote for Mark Molinaro.
Yeah,
I gotta vote for him. And then last time too with Lee Zeldin and Hochul, like same thing. It's
look, man, like people, I still hear it now. People are excited by the fact that Trump is within 10% of Biden in New York State. I'm like, those guys don't understand math, because people were like crowing about a poll that came out that said Lee Zeldin was within 4% of Kathy Hochul. And I'm like, that's an insurmountable lead. And it's a lie. Like, first of all, it's not 4%. But second of all, that's insurmountable. You're not getting past 4% of all the people that vote in this state, like 1 million voters, right? You're not getting past that. You're living in a fantasy land, and they're all like, people are coming at me hard because I'm like, I'm voting for Larry
weirder
Sharp.
stuff will happen, but like it was unlikely. Like without like some big scandal or something, it was unlikely, right? So on that note, though, we do have to head to a break, so we can continue this discussion afterwards, though. So WYSL audience, if you want to hear what we're saying afterwards, we're going to talk about a couple other things too. Someone brought up RFK, so maybe we'll talk about him again.
Let's do that.
But yeah, we're gonna keep the podcast going. Thanks again, WYSL audience, for joining us on the Free Solution. Have a great night, folks. Take care.
Yeah. All right. We got some side conversations going on. We've got a bunch of people in the audience. This is an absolute blast tonight. This is great. The math on RFK is very interesting, Kevin, because there is, I think
this is first
RFK,
and RFK Jr. will split Biden voters. Maybe.
Maybe not.
But I think it's going to end up being kind of even. Like, we'll see what it is. I know he started running as a Democrat. He has a lot of policies that are traditionally Democratic.
Yeah.
However, the Republican Party has gone so populist in big government that like RFK is kind of speaking their language too, right? Like he's and there's a section of the Republican Party. I mean, also a section of the Libertarian Party who follow the kind of Thomas Massey approach of like. He talked about when Trump first got elected. He's like, I thought a bunch of people supported Ron Paul because they were principled, they're ideological. And no, it turns out after seeing Trump win in this area that they're just trying to support the craziest son of a bitch in the room. And RFK Jr. might be that guy for some people.
Yeah, he's like a crazy establishment son of a bitch. Like that's what he is. I'm sorry.
Again, he's an establishment guy, but
he is, man.
He's a little bit wild. He's out there. He's unorthodox. Like, and I'm not even using these things pejoratively. I mean, like I can certainly say some negative things about RFK Jr., but like just descriptively, like he's unorthodox. He's out of the box. That's what people find appealing about him. Is just like that. He is an alternative. He is offering something a little bit that feels a bit different than Biden and Trump, and also like comparatively seems healthier than the two of them too. Like I think he legitimately has that going for him. He picked a 35-year-old lawyer to be his like VP candidate.
Nicole Shanahan. She's like got wealthy Google ass money, man. Like she's got big bucks, which is fine. Like I guess that's. Hey,
gotta keep funding the campaign. I mean, like that's
the First Amendment ain't free, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna cost some bucks. That's all. But look, RFK is exactly what I don't like about independence. Okay, like, and guys, this is with all due respect. In a sense, I get where you're coming from. In a sense, I know that stepping out of the two-party system in your brain is a great idea, but waiting for your favorite bribes without any principles, let's not pretend you're anti-establishment. Let's not pretend you're principled. All you're doing is waiting for the best bribes from your favorite guy. So if your favorite guy combines a few things from the Republican platform and a few things from the Democratic platform, and you're all of a sudden like, oh my God, that's my guy, you're still missing the boat, man. Like, you're still missing freedom. You're still establishment. You're not actually independent. You're still looking to the government for a system of bribes. That's a real problem. I hope that on some level that's offensive to people, but I also hope that they hear it and realize that it comes from my heart and I mean it in the nicest possible way. I know that sounds silly, right? But I
Yeah.
do mean it that way. Like, you're missing something there. You're just waiting for the best promises.
Yeah.
They've
No, I
always
get it.
drove me crazy.
No, 100%. And I want to get this comment too. Says, wouldn't it be nice to see him get 10% to help establish a permanent third party presence?
Sure.
And I know a bunch of people like want to see that, but I hate to bring up history, but 1992, Ross Perot got 18.9% of the vote.
Yeah.
It did not, in fact, establish a permanent third party presence. It was an anomaly, and in this case, like maybe RFK Jr. is going to build a distinctive enough movement to like do something, but like
Okay.
probably not.
So let me ask you this: what's distinct about him? What's distinct about
I don't
RFK?
think there is like that.
Right.
It's
Okay.
kind of thing. It's like,
You
I
and
think
I
there,
agree on that part.
yeah, like I don't know that like he offers something that is, because to me he is mostly like a progressive Democrat who is skeptical of like vaccines, right? Like that's kind of what he is. Like he's mostly a progressive Democrat.
Sure.
Um, I don't really see. I mean, like occasionally he'll like pay homage to like libertarian issues and like there's like some flirtation with the Libertarian Party, but like just he doesn't offer anything like again distinct other than the fact that he is running outside of the two parties, which people are really craving right now. So I don't know
Sure.
you can maybe you could, but I don't know you can sustain a movement on that. Like people have attempted before, like the Teddy Roosevelt attempted to do that with the Bull Moose Party, but the same thing that was an anomaly and it didn't sustain itself like in the long term. And he had the advantage of having already been president when he
Yeah.
was doing that. So
Some name recognition, like Kennedy. And look, somebody made a comment out there. Where is it? His last name and his abs. Okay,
yeah,
so look, with all due
like
respect,
that.
there's nothing unique about his last name. It's like the Kennedy name was in politics. The CIA took him out of politics. Now we got another guy coming back in to be in politics. Like, all right, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Sorry, my CIA joke.
No, that's fine.
Right.
I get it. The deep state didn't like him,
Yeah.
but
No.
yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know that he's all that unique. And I know people are arguing that he is, but like he mixes a few like moderate positions, but like ideologically he's not all that distinct. Like there have been ideologically distinct movements that have attempted to emerge in the United States. Libertarianism is one.
Sure.
Like the Green Party stuff, like it is like somewhat different than like the Democratic Party. Like it goes a lot further on that stuff. They're basically communists. And and then there's like Dixiecrats, which had their own like anti-liberal like ideology that they're trying to get past, and then other populists from like the 20s and 30s too, who were usually like illiberal, like even by the standards of the time. And by illiberal I mean like they fundamentally disagreed with the ideas of like freedom and individual liberty and like letting people do what they want. Like
Awesome.
Democrats and Republicans like sort of pretend sometimes still. So
Well, they do pay a lot of lip service to it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Hakeem Jeffries' April Fool's Day tweet saying
what did he?
stated it very aggressively that we will never bend knee to authoritarianism now, here, or ever, or whatever. I'm paraphrasing it and I'm butchering it, but it was like, what a great April Fool's joke, Hakeem. That was really well done. I was very impressed. I'm like, that guy gets it. He's an authoritarian psychopath. That's my joke. Did you guys get that?
Oh, thank you for explaining, Tim.
Yeah.
Dang, we're real slow on the pickup,
Not-
so is
not doing
stuff to
subtle
get.
tonight.
But yeah.
So here's the issue, right? Dark Closet of the Mind had a lot of great comments tonight. Kennedy is better than the other two, in my humble opinion. Yeah, but what though? Like, I get it. Sure, he's better. He seems more thoughtful. He can do long form podcasts without, like, he stays on point. He's interesting. That's it. He's a sliding scale of like,
well, like so to me, like RFK Jr. is like the baseline level of like speaking competence that we should expect out of people. Like we should expect every politician to be able to speak at that like level, right? Like again, a lot of what he says is like total nonsense, but like he can carry a conversation, right?
Right.
And it's funny because like sometimes like you listen to like Biden and you listen to Trump and like they meander like way more. Like it's just like, what the heck are you guys talking about? Sometimes like I don't know.
Yeah, gibberish. Yeah, well, I did have to explain my own joke, Shelley. Sorry, but I'm glad you're here.
He has an advantage. He can carry a conversation. Like he can do the long. Like again, Joe Biden isn't out doing that stuff. Like Donald Trump, I'm sorry, like he spouts off a bunch of crazy nonsense. Like not even just like I'm against it ideologically. Like sometimes you're just like what the hell are you even on about, man? Like go.
Oh my God, I know.
Go take a nap.
Yeah, go take a nap. Go eat a cheeseburger, whatever it is that you do that calms you down, bro. Like that's for Trump is eating cheeseburgers. Apparently McDonald's cheeseburgers. For Biden, a nap would come in pretty handy. Like, sure.
Yeah.
Look, we're in trouble, guys. Like that the two-party system is really a one-party system with like two sides of the same coin. It's like what we're gonna do is grow government, fund wars, talk shit, and get people excited and mad at each other. That's our game plan. That's our strategy. Pretending otherwise is a real problem. When you think
somehow too.
Yeah, like when you think I'm going to pick Trump over Biden or I'm going to pick Biden over Trump, you're like devolved into a personality cult already. You're already there. You're gone. You lost. You might as well have a king or a queen. Like you might as well just worship a Hollywood actor like Ronald Reagan, for example. Like, I'm just saying, you might as well do that because this is embarrassing. We're supposed to be adults, not emotional infants, and that's what these two guys give us.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I'll throw out this comment from Shelly on YouTube, who says, I feel like there's no one to vote for this year, only people to vote against. Maybe. And again, I hope the Libertarians nominate someone good. There's a few people I like who are running for president. Now, whether or not they get on the New York ballot, I don't know. Like, it's going to be an uphill battle. Like, it's going to be tough to get on the ballot. Like, Tim and I talked about this in other podcasts. It's going to be tough. Hope they pull it off. And hopefully not only do they pull it off, but we also get a great presidential candidate and they're able to stand out as a real alternative. Like people like Chase Oliver are interesting. We had there's Mike Trematt, there's Lars Mapsta, there's I'm trying to think of who else is like
Michael Rectenwald,
still Josh Smith. Is he? I haven't seen as much from him lately. I wasn't sure if he was still doing it.
But. Josh, you mean, or Michael Rectenwald?
Josh, I've seen Michael Rectenwald like post stuff.
Josh is still trying hard. He's trying to get on a debate stage. They've changed their format a little bit. The LPNY, guys, there is a recognition that I don't know if it's good or bad, but the current LPN, the LP party, is like saying, hey, you know what we need? People with money. So if you have money, we'll get you on the debate stage. Like literally, that's kind of what's going on. I'm not sure if it's good. But also, I made a joke earlier, but the First Amendment isn't free, Kevin. Like, we don't just get to spout our platitudes, which I agree with, and our philosophy, which I agree with, and draw people to us. So, it's complicated, bro. It's complicated.
Yeah. But, and Facebook, Chase puts in the work like crazy. Yeah, he's another one. He's out there doing his thing. He's been at every convention. So like, I respect the people who are doing that. There's a handful of people like I see all the time because I'll occasionally see like the stuff from the conventions, and they're out there, you know, trying to push their message, and I can respect that at least.
Sure.
Even if I disagree with them, like if you're out putting in the work, like recruiting people, trying to build your movement, and especially if you're trying to build your movement, like not just within the party, but like to spread the message beyond, like great.
Yeah. That does. I'll just mention this, guys. The LP. You can go to the LP page. There's lots of resources there if you want to help get signatures for the upcoming petition drive, which starts in about 7 days. Kevin, it's very easy to download the petition. It's very easy to get a few signatures, sign yourself off as a witness, and mail it out to Colsty. Like this is very simple. So I hope that lots of people do decide to do it. It's very, very simple, very easy. Let's get some names on the ballot. Let's get a libertarian candidate on the ballot.
Yeah, that'd be cool to see.
It would be
Hopefully it
great.
happens.
Yeah, it would be a thumb in the eye of the two-party system. That like, look, guys, I got kicked off of the ballot by a Republican. I was not a threat to this guy. He beat the Democrat by 30,000 votes. I maybe got 1,500 votes. Like, it's just a dirty, dirty money-making game. They do not want our names. They do not want the Libertarian Party to have a presence. New York State is a Democrat-controlled state. Like, this is a Republican district. It would have been very easy for a Republican and a Libertarian to have a debate and discuss things, but they were ridiculous about it.
Why-
They were
why
bad.
would
It
he?
was bad. Right?
Why would he entertain anyone threatening his power?
Because I'm smarter than him, I'm better looking than him, and I have better policies than him. So I get it.
A
So
good
I get
reason
it.
not to like acknowledge your existence or give you an inch.
So I get it, man. So I get it. But still, obnoxious.
Yeah. But all right. On that note, though, I think I'm gonna call it a night, so I can get this edited out to the station tomorrow. Appreciate all the comments. Appreciate all the discussion happening today. Y'all rock. Have a great night, folks.